Steve, your poem, The House Spider, has been included in The Invisible Thread, and it's an example of one of your poems that capture those really beautiful sort of small matters of domestic life. And it's a very humorous poem, so it's about a spider, huntsman spider, that you call a cheeky bastard, and he becomes great mates with the dad of the house, which the kids then end up feeling quite annoyed about. Tell us about this poem and where it came from.
It's sort of it came from two places, because I found myself, once I became a father, doing things that my dad did, and Dad would do that kind of stuff with spiders. He'd catch them and put them in the spider jar, and I found myself doing that thing. And actually, I was living in Ainslie, and there was one huntsman spider, and I tried to keep him away, but he kept coming back and always there, and I guess he was the real, or she, I don't know, but that very friendly huntsman spider became the inspiration for the poem. And it reminded me of just the way, I guess it is a quotidian thing, whatever, that daily kind of thing, but yeah, it's sort of significant that different species can communicate in a sort of not meaningful but friendly enough manner, I suppose.
And one of the things that characterises this poem is your trademark humour. And I was listening to Jonathan Franzen speak recently, where he was talking about when he writes, he often actually laughs during the process of writing. Given that you've got such kind of wry humour in so many of your works, do you ever find yourself laughing as you're writing?
I think during the Don Juan poem I found myself laughing, but not so much from it being funny, but just from enjoyment of writing in that sort of rhythm that just keeps going and going.
Yeah, so not a common thing then. Even smile? A small smile?
Oh yeah. You get the smile of satisfaction, and also when you get a word right, you feel pretty good about it. Yeah. When I guess poetry gives you a lot of those sort of, I don't know, endomorphic, is that it? Whatever, those nice chemicals that release into your brain when you get it done right, and I guess that tends to make you smile too.
So tell us about the process of writing The House Spider, if you can remember. Did you write it quickly? Did you redraft a lot? How did that happen?
No, I think it came pretty well straight. I remember I was living in a little house up in Duffy Street in Ainslie, and yeah, it was a very sort of writing type place. It was a little cottage with a little potbelly stove that warmed up the whole place, and it just made you want to write. And yeah, it came there. I think, yeah, it was one of my earlier Canberra poems too. It was after just being in Canberra for a year or something, and it sort of came. But how did it come? It just came. But too much drafting. I don't think I can. Not that much. I don't think. Not that much redrafting. Maybe little words here and there at the end, and a bit of lineation. But that was about it. Not much. Yeah, probably about 4 drafts to get it to right. Although there are a couple of slightly different versions extant out there in different magazines, so I don't know how that happens. So you send out different drafts and then you change your mind, but the old draft gets published somewhere. So yeah, so there's a couple of different, very slightly different versions out there.
Is there a tendency to always want to correct or change, or move a comma here and a word there?
Yeah, that it does tend to go on for a while, but then you have to know when to call it a day, and that's it. It's done. But then again, you'll look at something 10, 15, these days 20 or 30 years later, and you think, well, I could make that a little bit better by that. But it's a fine line between sort of editing and bowdlerising, and I've decided that there's always this thing, especially with your early poems, they're a bit rough and everything, but young poems, but I think maybe the roughness about them is a good thing. So I tend to try to leave things as much as I can, unless something jumps out at me as being, oh, that's silly or doesn't work, But otherwise, yeah, I try to leave them.
And tell us about the place where you write now. What does it look like and where is it?
At the moment, I do most of my writing at the kitchen bench because, it's got enough space to have my computer set up, and when I'm doing lots of editing and writing work, I can put up an extra monitor. So I've got enough space there, and it means I can keep an eye on the kids and not have to heat up every room in the house, sort of thing.
So do you write while you're looking after the kids? Do you find you're able to do that?
bits and pieces. You know, you get these moments where you'll actually, yeah, have a spare half hour here, a couple of hours there. When they go to bed, you'll want to do it, or, you know, or sometimes you'll just wake up and, you know, have to do it, and then other times you just don't.
Yeah. You've been writing from a really young age, poetry, so what was it that originally got you hooked?
Gee, I don't know. It got me, just, yeah, that thing of doing it and being in when the words are coming and when they're sort of working and turning into a poem, you're in a sort of a different, I don't know, frame of mind, state of mind, but you feel physically, it feels good. So I guess that's the thing that, and when you finish it, you think, geez, I don't know, it gives you a whole sense of, what's the word? Satisfaction, yeah. It's sort of good to do it, and yeah, and I guess I found that early when I was young that, yeah, that was pleasurable. And also, I won a poetry competition young and earned money, and that was really good too. But I think that's the trick, you know. I think I should have thought, no, that the money's not really part of poetry.
Lulled you into a false sense of security.
Yeah, you thought, oh, maybe,
expectation of
maybe
money.
there's going to be a really good sort of, what's the word, career here, you know.
Yeah.
Which I guess there is, but, you know.
Just not making lots of money.
Yeah, well, you know, you don't do it to be Bill Gates or, you know, a billionaire mining magnate. You know, if you want to be a billionaire, you go off and become a billionaire, I suppose.
Mm. Now, in a lot of your poetry, there's a very strong sense of place, and some of the places where you've lived, like, you know, Vietnam and America, you've set your work there. And then you talked about the house spider being one of your early Canberra poems. So how does place sort of seep into your work or influence your work?
Well, sometimes it is the work, you know, that's just it. I mean, like in America, I went there, I was a visiting writer and teacher and professor and all that, and I wanted to write, but, you know, what do I write about? And then the place itself sort of suggests things to write about, almost forces you to write. I guess with me there it was a blizzard. And the actual, you know, the air pressure drops and then this incredible sort of sound and blowing and kind of terrifying. And if you're silly enough to open the door, which I did, it's absolutely freezing and like being attacked by daggers of ice, and it's just incredible. And yeah, there's the poem. How can you not write a poem about it? You know, and yeah, I mean, places sort of they almost want to be written about, I think, or perhaps it's just how I interpret it. But yeah, it becomes a poem about a place or inspired by the place, and yeah, that's good.
And what about Canberra more specifically? What do you like about living here as a poet? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's. I've had some, you know, nice, I don't know. The places are sort of unique. They've got their own sort of very distinct sort of, I guess, a vibration. Places like O'Connor Ridge, Canberra. I mean, places I've written about, actual poems about the places. There seems to be, I don't know. I guess it's the bush, fresh air, and the fact that some of the places like the Murrumbidgee River and Canberra Pool do have a sort of a magical sort of thing, aura to them, I suppose. Yeah, you know, I mean, yeah, there's something about Canberra that's very productive for art in general. I guess poetry, it just makes you, it's a place you can sit in and want to write. Also, I think the winters, the long winters, you know, you want to hibernate and you can't go out and do too much at night where you don't want to, so you can stay home and write instead. So I think it helps that way. The spider was there when we moved in, basking on a sunlit bit of wall, waving its front legs in greeting. Dad said it was a cheeky bastard, then, checking his language and waxing more lyrical, called the huntsman an 8-legged fox. Dad put the spider outside, catching it gently in a glass spider jar, letting it loose in the backyard. But it kept coming back, that cheeky 8-legged bastard, calling a spider a fox, cut no ice with us. And Dad kept catching him in the spider jar and tossing him into the backyard, saying he should be outside hunting rats and taking his chances with the cat. Out you go, quick, smart. For weeks this went on, Dad with excuses like, spiders belong under rocks, or what if it scares the kids? But we weren't scared.
Huntsman should be out hunting, Dad announced, catching the poor cheeky bastard by surprise in the spider jar and putting him outside. But that night, after Dad had been smoking, the spider was back, inhaling the blue air. The cheeky bastard beckoned with his front legs, "Follow me," and demonstrated the webbed traps round the house with trapped flies, moths and mozzies, an impressive bounty. From that day on, they were great mates. Dad'd stay up late reading and writing, and the spider would appear on the doorframe to relax or flamboyantly hunt moths buzzing the light, and sometimes sat next to Dad on the arm of his comfortable chair. Then one day, Dad found the spider, half dead with 3 legs missing, under a toy car. I can't say who did it. The cat sneaked in the night before. The cat's never allowed in at night. I mean, the privileges accorded that cheeky bastard seemed a little undue. The run of the house, staying up late with Dad, reading, writing, having fun.